Well, Alfred Hitchcock was born at the same time that cinema was born, really, at the start of the 20th century. He was born in 1899,
Okay.
the Emma and William Hitchcock. And really, why Hitchcock, like we were talking earlier there about why Hitchcock is important and stuff, he really revolutionised the thriller genre. The term, he invented the term, Hitchcockian is a word that we still use.
Mhm.
You can hear any thriller that comes out with a man on the run or anything that involves the Muller figure, we term that Hitchcockian straight away. And really, he changed how we watch films as well, of course. When Psycho came out in 1960, prior to that, people went to the cinema. They would basically watch the film from the middle to the end, or whenever the film was on, they would come in and watch it. But Hitchcock really made a promise to the audience, and the audience had to promise to him that when you come in to watch Psycho, you have to watch it from the beginning. And that
Okay. Yeah.
changed how we watch films, because then, like I was saying, you used to go in and the film was half over. You just watched it till the end and then watched the start over again. You watched it
Mhm.
out of order. And Hitchcock really changed how we view cinema. And the thing that he did with the help of Truffaut and people like that, and the French New Wave and all, they took away this thing of being a hit maker, a popular filmmaker like Hitchcock was, with crowd pleasing films, but also this idea of being the auteur, the idea that Hitchcock was more than just a hit maker, someone who
Mhm.
could make popular films for big audiences. The importance of the director in the production of a film, and basically, uh, like he was so successful, so
Mm.
successful now that I think it's easy to forget how influential he was, and really, I mean, me personally, I love his early work.
Mhm.
Well, I love all his work, but really, if you look at his early work in the 1920s, really, the first Hitchcock film they call it is The Lodger, made in 1826,
Okay.
and that's something that I would say for anybody to watch there. It really shows a lot of inventiveness. It shows a lot of the ideas that you would see later on in
Yeah.
Hitchcock films. It was actually remade a couple of times in the
Okay.
1930s and 40s by other people. But really, Hitchcock came in. He actually got his first job in famous famous Players Lasky, which is actually Paramount Studios. That became Paramount Studios,
All right.
and
Right.
he started off writing the titles. Back then, the silent films, of course, he wrote the title cards.
Mhm.
That's how he got into the film business. And he met his wife Alma Revel, who became a massive influence in his life. She was an editor, and they got married. It was the only woman he ever was with in his whole life. He was really dependent
Really.
on her, and she really influenced every idea he ever had in his career. It went through his wife. His wife was very influential in his career and in his life.
Mhm.
And they met. I think they were making. It was called Woman to Woman, and they met on the making of that. And there was a guy, Graham Cutts, who was a very famous film director back then for Gainsborough Pictures.
All right.
And
Yep.
Hitchcock and something really big that happened in Hitchcock's life was Hitchcock went to Germany with his wife Alma, and when they went to Germany, they watched German filmmakers like Fritz Lang and F.W. Murnau and people like that, and their style of filmmaking, the German expressionism from the 1920s,
Right.
really influenced Hitchcock. It really made him. It really made him the director that he became.
All
And he
right.
brought those ideas from what he's seen in Germany with films like The Last Laugh and things. He
Yep.
brought those ideas over to England, and that's where he made The Lodger. His first film was The Pleasure Garden in 1925. He
Mhm.
made The Mountain Eagle, which is now lost. He then went on, and after The Lodger, actually, I should mention to you that after The Lodger, he kind of had a dip. He
Right.
made a couple of things, Murder and things like that, and he made the first. Some people say that he made the first British sound film,
Right.
with dialogue, which is incorrect. He
Ah.
didn't. The first film was The Case of the New Pin, I think it's called something like that. The Clue of the New Pin.
All right.
It
Yep.
isn't. It's an Edgar Burrow story. It isn't Black Man. But anyway,
Mhm.
the films really that if I know anybody listening that I would say to them to watch is from that early period. Is
Yeah.
the period from 1934 to 1938,
Mm.
and this idea of the master of suspense. That's when this came out. He made 6 films in those 4 years, and that's where the term master of suspense came.
Mm.
And the films he made in that period were The Man Who Knew Too Much, The 39 Steps, Sabotage, Secret Agent, Young and Innocent.
Mhm.
It's called The Girl Alone in America, and he finished that off in 1938 with The Lady Vanishes. And
Right.
at that time, that's where this master of suspense came.
Okay.
It was in that time.
And when did he make the transition from working in Britain solely to working in America?
Oh well, actually, funnily enough, after he made The Lady Vanishes, around that time, 1938, prior to the Second World War beginning, he was actually looking at America as
Right.
actually a place to go, because as Orson Welles describes the studio at the time, working on a film studio, he described it as the best train set that a child could have, and that's really what Hitchcock wanted. He wanted the big train set. He wanted all the capabilities that an American studio could bring him,
Yeah.
and all the prestige that he could get. And Hitchcock, after he made, he finished off with Gainsborough Pictures with Michael Balkan.
Yeah.
He made The Lady Vanishes and finished his contract with Jamaica Inn, which is not a film. It's okay. It's not great.
Right.
But he made that with Marion O'Hara, and then he went to America and signed a 7-year deal with David O. Selznick.
Okay.
David O. Selznick, most famous for Gone with the Wind at the time, and he made a deal with Selznick under contract there, where Selznick had real control over him.
Okay.
Hitchcock and Selznick is a story in itself.
Right.
They really didn't get on. It was not because we're both very similar people. We're both very controlling.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
Hitchcock made a film, Rebecca, which really is a Selznick film, really, and that won an Oscar. Hitchcock never won an Oscar, of course, famously never won
Oh
an
yeah.
Oscar.
Yeah.
And when
That's amazing. You think about it. Yeah.
it's actually interesting because when Rebecca won the Oscar, the Best Picture Oscar, it was Selznick that picked up the award as
Okay.
the producer, and really, Hitchcock. I mean, Selznick really used Hitchcock as well. He sold him out to different producers and made money off him as a sort of gun to hire, as a film director for hire type.
Right.
And under the Selznick period of the 7 years, Hitchcock made 10 films, and only 3 of them were Selznick films, which were Rebecca, Spellbound, and The Paradigm Case.
Okay.
And over that period, Hitchcock's favourite film was what he said his personal favourite was Shadow Without, which was made in 1942 during the Selznick period, starring Joseph Cotten and Teresa Wright. And really, when you look at the background of what was happening to Hitchcock during the making of that film, Hitchcock's mother had died.
Okay.
She became very sick while he was in Britain, while he was in America, and he couldn't get back over to Britain because of the Second World War and things
Right,
like that. He
right.
had to cross the Atlantic Ocean, of course. It was very difficult.
So it was a tough situation
It's a
there.
tough situation for him, and it's sort of reflected on in that film. You can really see that it's kind of like a love letter to a small town America, and that's really it's Hitchcock's quoted as saying that's his favourite film.
Like you find with many filmmakers, they relate to their real life experiences,
It
don't
is
they?
that-
Yeah.
I mean, in Hitchcock films, the Mahler figure, of course, most famously in Psycho, and it's also in The Birds with Rod Taylor's Mitch character has Mahler played by Jessica Tandy. It's such a figure in Hitchcock films. Bruno in Strangers on a Train there's a Mahler fixation on that. But well, of these films have
You do notice that, yeah,
about
and with
Mahlers.
Psycho as well, obviously.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you can see that.
Is Psycho or The Birds one of them films, or even Rear Window? Would they be your favourites,
Well, Rear
or?
Window would be. I think that's most people's favourite. I think. I mean, I mean, just to add, like that, once he finished that period with Selznick, Hitchcock really branched out on his own, and a film
Right.
that I don't know if you've seen it, but Rope.
I haven't seen it, no.
It's where it kind of went against his own instincts with Rope, because Rope was filmed in 10-minute takes. There's actually about 8 10-minute takes the whole film.
All right.
Which goes against, I think, Hitchcock's instincts, because Hitchcock was such a fan, and that's something I love about him, of cutting, that.
Yeah.
And it's something that he was influenced with Soviet cinema, with Eisenstein and people like that, and German Expressionism. This idea of cutting, this idea of pure cinema, where somebody sees something, and we see what they see, and we see their reaction.
Yeah.
That idea. And really, Rope doesn't really, even though I like the film, it doesn't really do that because there's no cutting in it.
Okay.
There is 8 cuts. And really, he made, interestingly too, he made that, and that was his own, the only 2 films he made on his own, Rope and Under Capricorn.
All right.
He made that Transatlantic Pictures. Him and Sidney Bernstein developed a company after he left Selznick. He wanted to make films on his own.
Right.
Selznick was so controlling. He did Rope and Under Capricorn, but both films were more or less experiments. They were flops. So he went back to Warner Brothers.
Okay.
And made 4 films under them. One of them was Dialing for Murder, which is
Oh
a
yeah,
3D
that's a
film.
big one, yeah.
That's a big one, and I Confess and Stage Fright. Stage Fright, interestingly enough, if you want to check it out, that has a false flashback in it.
Right.
Which is a flashback. Normally in cinema or in any kind of visual medium, the flashback is telling you the truth, really, isn't it? When you see a flashback, it's telling you a version of events, which is the truth. In Stage Fright, the flashback is false, which is a wee bit of a spoiler, but it's worth seeing for that reason.
Yeah.
And after he made his 4 films, I Confess, Strangers on a Train,
That's another great one. Yeah.
Stage Fright and Diamond for Murder. After he finished his contract with Warner Brothers, he went to Paramount, and that's when you were talking about
Okay.
Rear Window and things.
Oh yeah.
That in the 1950s was really his golden period when he made Rear Window. It was hit after hit. He made Rear Window, To Catch a Thief, Trouble with Harry, Vertigo, The Wrong Man.
Vertigo's one that sticks out as well, actually. Yeah.
Vertigo recently was voted it's an AFI the greatest film ever made.
Imagine.
In 2012, it finally beat Citizen Kane as the greatest film ever made, voted by scholars and academics and film.
Right.
Things
Yeah.
like that. And really, that golden period when Lou Wasserman, who was the head of MCA and MGM and things, and Hitchcock's agent, he developed Alfred Hitchcock Presents TV show.
Mm-hmm.
And what I find interesting about that period is, which is really what you were saying about Rear Window and all, that at that same time, that's when Truffaut and people like that were really valuing Hitchcock as an auteur. At the same time when he was making these massive big hits like Rear Window and To Catch a Thief, and that was really a golden period for him, right up until Psycho. Well, in the 1950s, after Hitchcock left Warner Brothers, that it really became his golden period with Rear Window, To Catch a Thief, The Wrong Man, Trouble with Harry, finishing off really Vertigo, North by Northwest. After that period of those hits, he went to Universal and made Psycho. And when he made Psycho, of course, it's probably his most famous film, beyond a doubt.
Aye.
And that, of course, influenced films for the next 50 years, you would say.
Absolutely. You see glimpses of it in the likes of Pulp Fiction and different things like that too. Tarantino was a big influence of him.
You see it in everything. I mean, it's like John Frankenheimer, the American director, said any American director who hasn't been influenced by Hitchcock is full of shit, is basically what he said. And it's true because you see it everywhere, the term Hitchcockian that I mentioned earlier.
Aye. Who coined that phrase?
That was really... there was people like Alexander Walker and critics like him, Sidney Gottlieb and people like that. They really coined that phrase. But the idea of the auteur, which was really Hitchcock kind of championed that, it was by Truffaut and people like that.
Okay.
They were the French New Wave, where they really viewed Hitchcock as the author of the film, really the importance of the director in the realization of a film.
So many great French directors out there too, like, you know.
Oh well, people like Godard and people like that as well. They were such fans of Hitchcock and Wells and people like that, and of that era of film directors. But after Hitchcock left, after he did Psycho, which made him so financially successful. I mean, he made that with his own money. After seeing what AFI could do, the American American International Pictures, which made Roger Corman very cheap kind of Edgar Allan Poe kind of horror films and Hammer films, things like that.
Yeah.
Hitchcock wanted to make a cheap kind of version of that. He said, "Why can I not make a cheap film?"
Right.
And that's where Psycho came out of. Because he wanted to make a cheap.
And it's ironic that the cheapest film became the most famous, isn't it?
And because it was his own money, his own television crew, it made him a fortune.
Because simple works, really, doesn't it?
Listen, the simple idea is usually the best one. But the funny thing is, after Psycho, he did The Birds 3 years later, 1963. After that, his career, at the same time, was being celebrated by the film school generation, like Scorsese and Spielberg and people like that. When they started to celebrate him, at that same time, his career was going down. Films like Curtain, Topaz, previously Curtain, Marnie, all those films were flops. And it's kind of ironic that people like De Palma and Spielberg were all celebrating them in the late 1960s.
Yeah.
And his career was actually going down. After The Birds, we have Marnie, didn't do that well. We have Curtain, didn't do well. Topaz was a disaster. He started filming that without a script.
Really?
It was really a disaster. He felt like a dinosaur. And if we look at the history of it, he fell out with Bernard Herrmann, his composer on several films. He fell out with him. His editor died. Robert Burks, a cinematographer. All the people that were closest to him started falling away, and he kind of lost his way.
Right.
And if you look at films at the time, they were filmed on location. They were filmed with handheld cameras. Hitchcock was still using a studio. Very thing that didn't make them look old-fashioned, you know. And if you look at his films of that time and compare them to anything of the time by an older director, they do look from an older era.
Right.
Really do. But how influential he was is incredible. You mentioned Psycho, how that influences Tarantino and things like that, or Jason,
the one that sticks out would be the his use of stabbing and stuff. You know, the
Stuff like
camera
that,
doesn't
yeah.
show the sword going into the body kind of
That,
thing.
yeah,
And then Bruce Willis done it, and Tarantino's Pulp Fiction too. It was
Well, this is it.
just
I
an
mean,
example.
well, the famous thing in Psycho is that Hitchcock was so proud about, and the shower scene that took 7 days to film, was that you don't see the stabbing. That each time the knife
Took
comes
7 days.
in,
Wow.
Took 7 days to film, and it's only 3 minutes long. But every time that you see the knife going in, it's a cut. And that's really the editing of it, you know.
Yeah.
With Saul Bass, he really helped create that as well. It wasn't just Hitchcock.
Okay.
Herman's music really helped that along too. But really, his period from, like I was saying, after The Birds, it really went down. The rest of the 1960s was all disasters, really.
Okay.
It was, in 1972, he made Frenzy, which became a big hit for him. It has returned to Britain as well.
Okay.
Returned to London. He filmed it in Covent Garden, which is where he was from.
Okay.
His father was a grocer, so it was like a homecoming for him, and that film was a massive hit for him. As somebody said at the time, I think Peter Bogdanovich or someone like that said, it was a film director it was a film of a young man, even though at the time Hitchcock was 73.
Okay.
But it was a film of a young, it was full of ideas.
Right.
You know?
Right.
After Frenzy, Hitchcock only made one more film, which was Family Plot.
Okay.
With Bruce Dern and people like that in 1976. And that was really, it's a good film, but you wouldn't compare it to Rear Window or anything like that.
He's known for his suspense and thriller, even horror. What would be his most scariest film in your opinion?
Well, the scariest, the most effective is really down to your own opinion of, is it The Birds or is it Psycho? It's really your own opinion. I mean, for me,
It's kind of more psychological horror than.
yeah. For me, it's basically his theme of, and his notion of pure cinema and things like Rear Window and Vertigo,
Yeah.
things like that. Those two films for me are his two best films.
Okay.
They really, especially Rear Window. I mean, even the window that James Stewart's looking out looks like a cinema screen. Even when he's looking out,
Yeah.
it's like it is a film about film. It's an excellent film, Rear Window. But really, Hitchcock is easily as you can see around my room, and here he's my favorite film director.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's worked with so many people and he's been so influential. He's so influential to everybody. He really, really is. Anybody that loves a camera, you've always got Hitchcock in your mind. Every time you go into a
That's
shower,
true.
you've got Hitchcock in your mind.
Right.
You know.
So great knowledge on Hitchcock there from David Harkin here. A big fan, obviously. You've been a fan for years of him, have you?
Oh yeah, about 16, 17 years. Something like
Wow.
that.
Yeah.
I've visited.
So you've accumulated a lot of knowledge.
Oh yeah, I've read maybe about 20 books. Maybe, I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah. So
You visited? Did you say you
I
visited?
his home, yeah.
Oh wow,
London, yeah,
that's
we went there.
cool.
No, I'm a massive fan. You know, it's,
Aye.
I wouldn't be making films myself if I wasn't a fan of Hitchcock. You know,
Yeah.
he's really.
It's great to have a good influence like that, you know.
I mean, that notion of the stuff that influenced him, like the Soviet films of the 1920s
Aye.
and the German expressionism of the same period,
Mhm.
that really inspired him, and you can see it in his work. And I think everybody's influenced by him or copying him. You know.
Well, to transition into talking about your own career, David, we can talk a bit about Black Monday, which is a film that you've recently made that actually I'm involved in. And tell us a bit about the whole idea of that and how it's went.
Well, I mean, Black Monday, the last couple of films that I made, and you're involved in nearly all of them, Kieran, is really I want to get back to the sort of gangster thing, you know. I wanted to get back to that sort of genre because that's something that I feel that I'm good at, and that I feel that people enjoy watching, and I think that the people who are in it enjoy being in it. So that's the reason I wanted to go back to sort of that type of genre, and that's really what Black Monday's about.
Yeah.
It's really about a gang war, and the character Maria being stuck in the middle of that gang war. That's really what it's about.
It's set in the future too, isn't it?
It's set in a kind of post-Brexit, maybe 10 years in the future.
Right.
The whole idea of Brexit is really reflected upon the idea that the bad guys in it, the gangsters, played by yourself, and Kyle Martin and people like that, that using steel from food banks, the idea that the austerity that's been put upon us has gotten so extreme in the next 10 years that gangsters have gone, that's the only thing left they steal. They don't steal from banks anymore with money, they steal from banks with food. So that's how bad it's gotten because of a Tory government, basically. But no, I'm very happy with the film.
That's great.
You know,
Yeah.
the actors in it, like yourself, Alexis Ireland, Martin Bradley, Bill Waters, Paula Roberts.
There's so many of us, isn't
There's so
there?
many of them even to remember now. Kyle Martin and people like that. There's so many of them that are really top kind of drawer actors, like including yourself, of course. But it was great to have.
Don't know about that now.
It was great to have such a wealth of talent, and also
Yeah.
faces. It's important to get when you're making a film with so many people, and it's a short film, only lasts half an hour. It's important to have people, to have good faces on there, because people remember. If you don't have much screen time, people remember the face, and they go,
True.
That's
Yeah.
the guy that's the baddie. He's the guy that's standing on the guy's head and all that. You know, but
So how's the editing going now?
it's going okay. I'm actually going
Good.
to show you the teaser once we're finished here. I'm
Ah,
going to show it to
cool.
you on the computer, which you're in. But no, the film's doing really well. I mean, I've already prepared have an idea of for another film already.
Wow.
Another gangster type thing.
Oh, does it take you long to develop the film when you're writing it?
Not really. No, I mean, usually the ideas are usually kind of baking away in my head.
Right.
For a good period of time before I would write the script and things like that. So it's usually.
I'm sure there's a great sense of excitement when you come up with an idea.
Oh, usually it is. I mean, it's like Woody Allen says that he's something like he hopes that 20% of his original ideas ends up on the screen.
Yeah.
And I sort of feel that sometimes that your initial idea, you wonder how much of it is going to be translated to the final cut, the final version of the film.
Yeah.
But no, I'm excited about Black Monday. But I'm even more excited too about previous films that I've made, last night streaming things that are now going to go on the DVD and
Good stuff. Yeah.
be seen by more than 6 people. So I'm looking forward to that.
And your films have had good success in film festivals in the past as well.
They've
And
done okay in film festivals, and they've done okay with public screenings and things
Yeah.
like that there.
you done one called Bogland a few years ago, and then you done Bravado, and
Yeah, I did think
you done pretty well.
Bravado,
Bogland, didn't it?
Shauna Lawson and Katerina Rossi and Terry Ritchie and people like that, they're all in those films.
Mhm.
No, they're very enjoyable to make.
Mhm.
And they're doing okay with people enjoying them.
You've really worked with the cream of the crop of Derry talent, haven't you? You're of local
I
kind
think I
of,
have.
even Vinnie Coyle as well.
Oh yeah, Vinnie Coyle, yeah, and loads of people, so many people, two James McLaughlins and Conor Barr and Martin Bradley, who I mentioned, Bill Waters, Paul Roberts, Shauna Lawson. No, there's so many of them. But there's a few I know that I would like to work with as well.
Aye.
That I haven't worked with. That I know that I'd like to sort of.
Aye.
I'd like to coach. But I'm gonna have to just play the cards right there. You know.
But what was your first film, David? What was the first one you?
Well, the first film that I ever made was what was it? Oh, a thing I made when I was doing a HND. It was a student film.
Right.
Called 1,000 Words, I think it was called. No,
Right.
Kaleidoscope. That's what it was called.
Yeah.
Which, funnily enough, I took from Hitchcock.
Yeah.
Hitchcock had an abandoned film called Kaleidoscope
Right.
that he was making between when his career was going down the toilet in the late 1960s. He was making a film called Kaleidoscope, which was going to be filmed on live locations, which was the opposite of what he was doing, of course. He was filming in the studio and stuff like that, so he wanted to be new and fresh and things, and he wanted to make Kaleidoscope on live locations with unknown actors, not stars.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really, and it was kind of like in the vein of Psycho.
Okay.
And that's where I got the idea. I stole his title.
Cool.
You know.
So you've actually done a good bit of your work with green screen as well, haven't you?
I've done some stuff like that. I'm not really a big fan of. I'm much more in the kind of practical uses of things, like even practical makeup and things like that, and practical effects and things like that. I'm not really into doing much.
And you've worked with a couple of good makeup artists in the past few films as well, haven't you?
Margaret, who's on the Black Monday, is excellent, and Emma McBride was one in the past as well. There's a lot of talent out there that you need to.
You need to incorporate.
Yeah, you need to get them on board. You know.
I know every little helps, doesn't it?
Well, this is it. It's the same with music as well. I mean, in the past, I've been very lucky with Joanna Fagan and Joe Campbell, people like that. You really need to kind of get that talent.
Joanna's doing the soundtrack to Black Monday, is she?
She's kindly let me use 2 songs. Which
very good, very good.
It's a short film, like so. 2 songs is a lot. So I'm very happy about that. They're really in the film and everything.
Brilliant! Yeah.
You know.
So overall, with your film career so far, you're happy, and any ambitions for the years ahead?
Well, I hope to make more films. I don't really know if I should make another feature film. when you're working with no budget, like I always like to do,
Aye.
you can run out of kind of locations very easily. When you've made 6 feature films with no money and
And you have done a lot. You've done a lot for charity too, which is great. Like.
Well, the thing is, it's always good. I mean, there's so many charities in Derry that's close to people's heart, so it's always good to give money.
Absolutely, yeah.
And the reason why we're all doing this for, I mean, it's the reason why I don't go for a budget, is that we're all doing this because we all love film.
It's about the passion, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, that's what it is for me, and I know it is for yourself as well. I mean, if it wasn't that, I'd be away to Northern Ireland screen looking for funding. If it wasn't about passion and things like that.
But then when you do that kind of thing too, it puts extra pressure, and it also puts kind of...
Well, it can take the fun out of it.
Yeah.
You also have to answer to somebody. That thing I was saying about Hitchcock and the Selznick thing. It's when you get... It's nice to have complete control over something. Especially if it's your idea. It's good then if you can see it through to the very end. Even though sometimes it doesn't work out. Some films I've made have been really crap. They haven't really been very good. The ideas haven't really flourished. They haven't really worked. Sometimes that happens. You can't make.
You have to look at it that you're going to learn from these things too, and
well, I've learned from mistakes, yeah.
Because the same way of us all,
This is it. Same with casting.
You can't be perfect every time, like.
This is it. It can't be good all the time. I mean, we're saying that about Hitchcock. There's the master of suspense, and he's made Torn Curtain. He's made Topaz. He's made Waltzes from Vienna. He's made Rich and Strange. All you do is look up any of those films, and you'll see that they're not great.
Well, who in the modern era would be your influences, if there's any?
Well, really, there would be Brian De Palma, famous for films, Intouchables. And
unbelievable stuff. And
who's also he would use the grammar of Hitchcock. Really, would use his style, his filmic grammar.
Yeah.
De Palma would be a big inspiration. Woody Allen, people like that, and I like some Roman Polanski stuff, and Steven Soderbergh and people like that. I would be a big fan of those people, I think.
Yeah.
I would like those.
Is there anything you'd like to add to this interview now, David, before we go?
Just that I hope people listen to Kieran's movies and tune in the Celtic Radio.
Cheers. Thanks a million, David, and we'll be on YouTube as well with us, hopefully. So, thanks for joining me, David. David Harkin, Derry film director. Stay tuned for more of his stuff. Good luck, David.
Bye.